The United States in the Imperialization of Guam by Lillian Evan. The island of Guam is located in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. The island itself is located roughly 7,000 miles off the shore of the United States. It is about 30 miles in length and 8.5 to 11.5 miles wide. In this image, you see explorer Ferdinand Magellan. He was the first person to discover Guam while sailing for the King of Spain. How did the United States imperialize Guam? The United States imperialized Guam during the Spanish-American War in 1898. The United States' initial goal was to conquer the Philippines, but instead they imperialized Guam. The reason the United States imperialized Guam was because they thought it could be used as a stopping point for the U.S. ships going to and from the Philippines. They also saw it as a good opportunity to spread Christianity. The reason the United States was easily able to take control over Guam was because of the fact that the people of the island were unaware of the Spanish-American War. The United States did not officially control Guam until the Treaty of Paris in 1898. The short-term negative impacts of the imperialization of Guam. One of the short-term negative impacts that the imperialization of Guam had on Guam was the fact that the inhabitants of the island were unable to speak their language of Chamorro. If spoken, the people of Guam were either punished or fined. This then changed later on, and now the people of Guam are able to speak their language of Chamorro. The second short-term impact was that in 1941, all the Spanish priests were removed from Guam by the U.S. Navy and replaced with American Catholic priests. This was a very big issue at the time because the Spanish priests played a very large role in educating the people of Guam. This then changed later on, and now all the Spanish priests are able to practice in Guam. The long-term negative impacts of the imperialization of Guam. One of the long-term negative impacts of the imperialization of Guam occurred in 1919, when the naval made an official policy that the Chamorro culture must be a patriarchy. This was a negative impact because for thousands of years the people of Guam's lineage and land ownership had been passed down through the mother. Now it was going to be passed down through the father. The father of the family would now be considered the head of the household and the head of any family. A second long-term negative impact is that since the United States' imperialization of Guam, the inhabitants of Guam have been unable to vote. Although Guam is a territory of the United States, it is not one of the states, meaning that the people of Guam are unable to vote in general elections for President of the United States. A third long-term negative impact since the United States imperialized Guam is that 29% of the island is used for military bases, and that percentage just continues to grow. Primary sources. My first primary source is a campaign for political rights on the island of Guam, 1899 to 1950. In this text, the author shows a petition created by the inhabitants of Guam in 1901. In the petition, the inhabitants of Guam are calling for an end to military rule on Guam and the establishment of a civilian government. This petition was transmitted to the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Department of the Navy, but nothing ended up actually changing for the people of Guam. From this petition, you can see how the people of Guam felt about the American imperialization. They truly just didn't want anything to do with it. My second primary source is a political cartoon. In this cartoon, it is shown how the United States makes it seem as though they are helping and bringing freedom to the countries they are colonizing, but in reality, they are doing nothing but negative things for the countries they are imperializing. With Guam in particular, the U.S. made it seem as though they were lending a helping hand, but truly they were just stripping them of their religion, language, and rights just in general.